Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite weapons in Battlefield 6. One of my favorite things about this game is that so many of the guns are very enjoyable to use. I can really go through just about every single category of weapons and find a good handful of guns that I really enjoy. But that doesn't mean that some of them don't stand above the rest. And one of those weapons that I keep coming back to is just my go-to when especially playing the support class, but one of my favorite LMGs in the game that doesn't really play like an LMG is the DRS-IAR. This is something that's been in past Battlefield games. It's modeled after the M27 IAR, IAR standing for Infantry Automatic Rifle. It's used by the United States Marine Corps and was initially intended to replace a bunch of their light machine guns, but has ended up being more of an infantry rifleman replacement for the M16 and the M4A1. And just like real life, this weapon in-game is being used in a similar way. I can easily use this instead of an assault rifle. It's fantastic on the support class, and it is just all around one of my go-to weapons. There's 100 different ways you can run this rifle. I think many of them are viable. You don't necessarily have to come up with something that's like a super fast ADS build or a incredibly well recoil control build. You can always have a hybrid. You can play to your strengths, whatever you like. The best thing about this gun though is that it just feels really good at a base level, and from there you can modify it further towards your preferences. It's got a rate of fire of 771 rounds per minute with a base damage of 25, giving it a respectable DPS. It's not going to out DPS some of the higher damaging weapons in the game, but its recoil and accuracy is so impressive at medium and even trickles out to further range that you can just do so much with this gun. It's extremely versatile. Sure, if you're going for only CQB firefights, this might not be the ultimate weapon, but since so many of the maps in Battlefield take you from CQB to medium range to long range, this gun can do all of those things at a pretty high level. Now, when it comes to my current build, there's a lot of things I could change about it. Right now, I have an expensive vertical grip on there to give me a little extra precision and control, but sometimes I'll switch it up to an angled grip when I'm in the mood for faster ADS times. It's really just a preference. Some of the attachments that I think are kind of must-haves, the heavy extended for 10 points is just such a good upgrade for this weapon, giving you a much faster muzzle velocity, making it far more usable at range. Then of course I have a suppressor on here. I am kind of annoyed at how good suppressors are in this game. Staying off the minimap, making a smaller sound profile is just so dang useful that rarely do I consider using a muzzle brake unless I'm using a weapon that has crazy hard to control recoil, which the DRS absolutely does not. So just throw a suppressor on there if you've got it unlocked. Otherwise, a flash hider is perfectly fine. You don't need to waste the extra points on a more expensive brake. Now for the magazine, I went with the 30 round fast. Again, it's cheap, and magazines get so expensive once you start going for a 36 round, a 40 round. Yeah, looking at a 45 fast round is for 40 points. I mean, that's like most of the points for the whole gun there. I just don't think it's worthwhile. Obviously, having a bigger magazine is always useful, especially if you need to drop multiple guys, but a 30 round fast I find to be more than usable, especially for a weapon that is strongest in medium range engagements. You should have plenty of time to drop a target or two and then get your reload in. This weapon really just doesn't need a lot of expensive attachments, so it allows you to play around with the more expensive attachments where you want. Usually the grip or a higher level suppressor if you want. I used an extra 10 points for a laser sight on there. I like the 10-point red just because it gives you a little bit better concealment, although it doesn't give you as big of a hipfire bonus, but for the most part, the hipfire is good enough on this weapon, I think, so a red laser is fine. Something that I would play around with a little, but I don't use it for basically recording for YouTube or really gameplay because I find it a little cheesy, is the infrared optics. They're very good. You could throw one on here and just absolutely decimate people on like outdoor maps where the visibility is a little bit trickier. Personally, I'm worried that the infrareds will become meta at some point, or just too many players will become reliant on them. And even though DICE has made them expensive, like 25 points for a base level infrared, I don't think it's expensive enough. The benefit's going to outweigh the cost, I think, in most situations. And in previous games, they made it so that infrared optics actually reduced your ADS speed. And I think they might have to explore that at some point with this game, but we'll have to wait and see. If everybody starts using infrareds all the time and it just turns into a black and white shooter where if you're not using an infrared, you're at a disadvantage, then that would suck. And DICE will have to look into rebalancing those. Now, in terms of gameplay and what circumstances or situations I would pick this weapon, well, it's such a versatile gun that I think you could make a good argument that you can use this on just about any map. I will often pick it when I'm playing the support class because you get the added benefit of the support passive ability for using LMGs. And I personally think the support class and then the engineer are the two most valuable classes in the game. I play support more than any other class, so the DRS is an easy go-to. You get the added benefit of faster ADS and faster movement speed while carrying an LMG, and the DRS counts as one, even though it plays much more like an assault rifle. Now, when it comes to map preference, yes, this weapon is best at medium range, but it doesn't mean it's bad at close range, and it's certainly usable at further ranges. So I think just about any map you choose, this gun could be good on. But if you're playing like the Brooklyn map and you know you're just going to be pushing really hard into buildings for CQB only firefights, then yeah, you might not want to pick this as your top choice. You'd be better off with an SMG or shotgun or something that does those types of close range engagements. But whenever you're in between those objective points and you're looking at more medium to long range engagements, then the DRS is going to do fine there. So there's no maps that I would say don't use this gun on. It's going to be fine for all of them. It's just really what you're in the mood for. Do you want to be that crazy try-hard aggressive player and get in close quarters? Maybe not use this weapon as your top pick in those circumstances, but otherwise it's basically a fantastic gun in just about every single scenario. And because this weapon, just by its nature, is so versatile at so many different engagement ranges, that's usually how I try and build the weapon. I've got the red dot on there to give it a little bit better hip fire. I've got a fast mag. I'll often run a magnified optic on there to help out with medium ranges if I want to, but otherwise none of the attachments are really pushing me into any specific type of gameplay. They're just making it better all around. It's shoring up some of the hip fire abilities, keeping me with a fast reload time, and then whenever I want, I can have that magnified optic to help out at those medium ranges. I'll even use like a 4x sight on this sometimes when I'm playing on a map when I have a lot of indoor engagements, because the hip fire will be good enough to at least deal with the CQB firefights as needed. At some point, I might play around with some different builds for this gun. You could try and throw a big magazine on there and improve its hip fire and just use it as some sort of indoor CQB firefight weapon, but I think there's weapons in the game that are just better suited for that. So you could try and push it in one direction or another, but I think kind of keeping this more of a vanilla gun, not quite as exciting, but good at everything, is really going to be where it excels. And I think that's why so many people are using this weapon, and it's just such a good all-around gun. Just not quite as exciting as some of the crazier other guns that are super good in very specific situations. Anyway, this has been one of my go-to weapons while playing Battlefield 6. I've probably got more time on it than just about any other gun in the game. I'd be curious to hear what your go-to weapons are so far, or maybe you have a different setup for the DRS that you think is superior to how I'm using it. Let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and up next, check out this video on some of Battlefield's greatest maps ever. I think you'll find it pretty interesting, especially if you haven't played a lot of the past Battlefield games. It's interesting to look back and just see what this franchise has done in the past. I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap signing off.